Hello, everyone. This is Henny Espinosa with Justice Foundation. Today, we are joined by two women who are set out on a mission to for a historic collaboration, and the community is really rallying behind them. Thank you so much for joining us, Anne Harris. Anne is a professional fiddle player, and of course, Amanda Ewing, who is the first and the only African American woman listed in the United States as a luthier or a violin maker, right? So thank you
Right.
so much, ladies, for joining us in Just Wish Foundation.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Yes.
Just at the perfect time of year too, because as we close out Black History Month and we go into Women's History Month, you're bridging the gap well.
It's
For
perfect.
sure, for sure, for sure. So let's talk about kind of your individual paths to music and where it has taken you. And can you start with how you discovered music, how you fell in love with it? How did you feel when your parents gave you that first violin?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, in terms of how I fell in love with music, I don't remember a time when I wasn't in love with music. There wasn't an aha moment for me. My whole life was immersed in music from the beginning because my parents loved music and they had a beautiful and very large LP collection that I would listen to. And at a very early age, I think I was around 3, my mother took my sister and I to see the movie version of Fiddler on the Roof. And my mom told me that I stood up in the seat at the beginning of the movie and pointed at the screen. In the very beginning of that movie, Isaac Stern, one of the most famous violinists ever, was in silhouette on the rooftop playing the overture of that movie. And she said, I pointed at the screen and said, Mommy, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And I wouldn't stop bugging her about it. And I finally got to start taking formal lessons when I was 8 years old, and I never looked back. And all while I was studying classical music, I was listening to a huge variety of other genres of music because that's what surrounded me in my home. I also was very fortunate that I grew up at a time and in a place in my little town that really supported the arts. So I was in high school orchestra, first chair, and I was in a trio and a quartet that even in high school we were playing weddings and earning money as artists. So music has always been a part of my life. I guess
Mm.
that's my path in music.
Okay. And for you, Amanda, how did you get into um being a luthier? The distinction, Amanda, being the only African American woman luthier in the United States.
Mixed emotions for sure. It's mixed emotions. So the only African American luthier on record. Let me just say that to clarify,
Wow.
because I do believe that there were other individuals who looked like me and were female and were black, were making instruments. However, historically, they're not on record. We don't know of them. They are unsung, and they may remain unsung unless some document presents themselves so that we can give them their flowers. So there's mixed emotions for me. It's a start. It's a really great start. It also shows how far we have to go in this particular industry and fostering individuals of color, Black women, because I know that they're out there and I've met them who want to be able to make instruments as well, who want to be in the music industry, but not in a specific way, maybe not playing, maybe not composing, but there are other options for them and they also can make. And so just being a starting point for resources, a starting point for support, a starting point for community, to be able to build a strong foundation of community of people so that they are able to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish in Lutheran.
Wow, wow. And I understand that you, Amanda, you were in the corporate world initially, right? Is that correct? How did you go into this industry?
Yeah, I worked 16 years for Gaylord. Many people know the Grand Ole Opry. Some people actually don't know the Grand Ole Opry, but the Grand Ole Opry and Opryland Hotel, I worked there for a very long time, which allowed me to do a lot of things. It ran its course, and I was let go gently from that place, thankfully, and I had a space in between needing to find another job to really think about what I wanted to do. So I just started to pursue all those things that brought me joy. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I wanted to feel good and excited about my day. So I was like, I'm going to do everything that includes that, which was traveling, which was eating good food, which was dancing, and which was playing the violin again after I had stopped. After my daughter decided she didn't want to be a pianist. So I was like, okay, you don't have to do that. So I'm going to hang up my instrument as well. And when I had more space in my schedule, because I was not working, I decided to find a strings community to be able to just start bowing my instrument again. It had been a very long time. So I'm no Ann Harris, bow to the queen. But I always loved the string music, and I was introduced to string music as a gymnast a long time ago. And so I wanted to get back into it, and it's there that I met an instrument maker. And since I wasn't doing anything else, I was like, yeah, I'll come to your shop and I'll watch how instruments are made. It sounded very interesting, very cool to me. And then once I got in there, I realized that not only could I do something that I love, but I also could be a part of creating impact. So that was a win-win.
Then you allow people to also create beautiful music. And I think that is such a special gift. So for you, Anne, where has your musical journey taken you? I understand you've traveled the world performing, and you also
Yeah, it's been such a wild path. I never would have imagined when I was that little girl, taking classical violin lessons, that I would eventually be led into making my living as a touring musician in the American roots and blues genres. I moved to Chicago after college, and I started playing with local bands, and I sort of got spotted by a blues musician by the name of Otis Taylor, who is a Colorado, at the time he was based in Colorado, international trance blues artist, and I loved his music. And I went on the road with him for, gosh, I made records and toured with him internationally for 9.5 years, before going out on my own and doing stuff with other people, all the while making my own music. And one of the things that is was pretty eye-opening for me about the blues world and that genre. It's kind of a foundational music, of course, for all contemporary popular music, but it's pretty not brown when it comes to the musicians and women. So being a violinist, which is sort of an oddball instrument in the blues field, not as much in American roots, which goes more into folk and country and other genres, but in specifically blues, and where I was working and where I do work, I'm kind of most of the time the only woman fiddle player, and certainly of color, that I've come across. There's a couple of others out there doing the work, but I feel like there's a great there's a great need to be visible. Just do your job and show up and be visible, because you never know the impact that's going to have. I've had little kids, little girls and boys of color come up to me through the years, and I've been a source of inspiration for them, which is very humbling to me. But I never would have dreamed when I was growing up that I would, end up doing what I do and having an influence on other young people coming up.
you guys, I guess this question is for both of you. When you guys were starting out, I don't know if you had that role model that looked like you or that you could identify with, but having that feeling now that other young women of color are looking up to you guys and saying, I want to be like you. I'm inspired by you. I see myself in you. How do you guys feel about that? Amanda, we should let's that I want both of you guys to answer that feeling of that somebody wants to be like you and can identify with you.
It just really underscores, in my personal opinion, how important representation is, because sometimes we can't see what we can be until we see a representation of that. And when I was growing up, I was a gymnast, and I saw there was one gymnast in my space, and her name was Dominique Dawes. And because of Dominique Dawes, I thought I could be an Olympic gymnast as well. And I remembered her, and she was my inspiration, and she was my motivation. In an industry also that was predominantly white, she was also one of the only and one of the first. And so I know what it feels like going to an all-white college. I know what it feels like feeling like you're the only one there and there's no one that can relate to you. Maybe there's no one doing it, so maybe you shouldn't do it as well. So on one end, I know what it feels like. So I know how important it is for someone to come into my space and say, I never knew individuals who look like us did this. This is so inspiring. It makes me believe that I also can do it too. So it's very important, and it also feels good. To know that we are able to support people from all over the world from so far away, but just seeing our faces, regardless of where we are in the world, is making a difference in their lives. Yeah. It's very valuable and very important.
Yeah. And does it feel like empowering in a way? How do you feel when the young girls come up to you?
Oh, absolutely. Everything that Amanda said, I articulate, I drive home that point as well. It's so important to have representation, and the feeling, I guess I would describe the feeling as very humbling. I feel that sometimes if you end up in a position where someone is inspired by you, for me, that translates as a great responsibility. Like I feel a great sense of humility and a great sense of responsibility to show up and do me as well as I can, be as authentic and honest, and helpful as I can, and accessible too. I've had conversations with people, had people email or private message me to ask me questions about certain things that might be like just little things, but it might be of such help. And I think to be of help, to be available, and to be of service is like the most important thing we can do as members of society in whatever we do, in whatever small little way that you don't think maybe has a giant reach or impact. You can't discount the impact.
Yeah, it does, actually. It does. And so you're right. There is a certain sense of responsibility sometimes when you're in that position. You take care of that role, because
for sure
there are young minds that are listening and absorbing.
Exactly.
And emulating.
And we're both moms too, Amanda and I. So we know how kids listen. We know that, sometimes when you have no idea, I don't know if you have children or are around children, but sometimes it's the things that you maybe didn't say that they just went, oh yeah, when you wore that one dress, there was something about that. They have memories.
Yeah.
They're sponges that are absorbing kind of so many things you might not be consciously aware that you're projecting.
So, Anna, I understand you have your first and only violin, the one that your parents gave you when you were young, right?
I do, and I'm in my little studio. This is her right here.
Aw, so sweet.
Yes, and this is the first instrument when I grew into a full-size instrument, because when I started playing, I was a smaller person, so I eventually grew into a full-size instrument, and my parents knew I was dedicated at that time, and so they bought me that violin. It's a Roth, which is a German violin, and 1961. and it's not, it's kind of a workhorse instrument. Roth has a history, as violin houses go, of having better years and not so great years, and I feel like I got a really wonderful year in that instrument, and that's why it served me so all these many years. It's got a beautiful, deep, rich tone.
But you're ready for a new one, right?
Well, a couple of years ago, I do a lot of recording work for people as well. They'll call asking for string sections, and I'm layering on different parts. And a few years ago, I thought it might be really interesting in my sound to expand it by adding another instrument. And it's not in replacement of my instrument.
It's an addition to it.
Absolutely. It's another voice, a way to grow. And I think all, people that play instruments, or string instruments, certainly know that with there are physical limitations with what you can do with any instrument. And to move beyond those and challenge yourself with another instrument, I think aids you in artistic growth, which is what I was looking for. And then that little bug was out there. I wasn't urgent. It's not like I had to get an instrument because mine was broken or something, but I kind of had it in the back of my mind. And during pandemic, about a year and a half to 2 years after I had begun considering this and sort of looking around, Amanda so beautifully came into my world via the algorithms on Instagram. And I came across her page and was just awestruck. Just
wow.
Blown
So
away.
it was by chance it was really, maybe not by chance, but it was like it was kind of destined that you were supposed to
I
meet.
very much
I love how social media does that to people, really.
Yes.
Strangers, and connect them in such a special way. So when you were in awe and you reached out to her, what did you tell her?
I was just gushing fangirl, trying not to scare her, and get blocked. I was like, I love what you do. You are amazing. I've never in my life seen a Black woman luthier. And I guess this would have been in during pandemic 2020, and I just felt the impact so strongly of the importance of Amanda and her visibility and what she's doing, and I wanted to connect with it immediately, and I knew this had to be my baby mama of my new violin. I was like, this just makes sense. I want to support her. I want to support a Black woman maker, and I want to have that energy in the instrument that I'm going to carry to the world, because I'm carrying a story, and a story of visibility and inclusion. And I feel a great responsibility around that. And if I can in any small way inspire or influence people that previously may not have been exposed to a collaboration like this, I think it's really important. And I want the voice of that instrument. I want that voice to sing with. I want to carry that out.
How did you feel, Amanda, when she reached out to you and there was that intent? It wasn't just, hey, can I ask you to make my violin? There was an intent behind it. How did you feel about that? And kind of give us an idea also of what it means to be a baby mama. What does it take to create a violin? Like, what kind of effort and time do you have to put into it to create one?
When Anne showed up in my inbox, it was really confirmation, because around that time I made the decision to really try to pursue, because in the beginning I wasn't even thinking about this. This was something new that I could try. It seemed very interesting. I loved string music. I thought the violin was such a beautiful instrument. And I was trying to find my path, so to speak. And here it was being revealed to me, but I didn't know it. So I was just having a good time, vibrationally high, happy, enjoying learning something new. And by the time M came around to my inbox, I had already made the decision to go for it, like to really try and do it. And so seeing Ann's messages was like confirmation. So I couldn't believe it. I think I was reading the message like something like that with my hand over my mouth, just thinking like energetically, I put that out there and then here it is returning right here in the flesh. And I was super excited, but also just super duper nervous because it's a huge responsibility. And it was meaningful to me because I just want to do a really great job. I want every instrument to have every bit of me in it. And when I hand it off to the player, I also want them to be super excited and super happy with what they have. So I had a lot of anxiety. I don't take anxiety medicine, but I should have had some on hand because I was just really, things were happening, you know how your eyes get really big, like now things are really happening and this is what I wanted. So it feels really good. I'm so thankful to be chosen. And is a wonderful fairy godmother in that sense. And being able to make an instrument for such a being like her, it just feels so good. It's so much more beyond an instrument. It's a sisterhood. We are sisters now in this. And I couldn't have asked for a better first commission. Actually, I think you're my second commission in.
Yeah.
The bass came first, I think.
The bass came first, yeah.
But developing this type of relationship, it's really going to spoil me because I'm going to be thinking all of my clients are going to be my sisters, and it may not end up that way, right? But this particular one, it feels really good that it's happening this way. This journey is unfolding this way, and we're able to share it with the world and let other people in on it and just show people what a beautiful thing it is, that magic is truly happening here.
For sure. And each violin is, how many hours does it take?
It takes a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. Give us an idea.
They say 250 hours, but really you're thinking about it all day, almost every day. You're making adjustments, you're thinking about techniques, you're thinking about how the wood is going to behave, you're thinking about where to store your rib structure just to make sure that the weather doesn't get to it and doesn't change forms. You're always thinking about it. So it's not only just handman hours or woman hours, but it's also a lot of mental hours too. Maybe you can just double that. Maybe it's a 500 mental and physical hours of constructing a violin. And that's only a violin, not a bigger instrument. Just the violin, and that's about that big.
Yeah. And this is a historic collaboration because this is the first time that two Black women are collaborating on the creation of this violin, right?
Yeah.
Is that why it's a historic collaboration? I mean, hopefully, like you guys said, once this comes out and your story comes out, then it encourages other women of color to be like, hey, I want to create connections that are impactful in that way.
Yes.
Because, you're going to be in the history books and it's going to be somewhere down the line, a young woman will see it and be like, I want to make my mark that way too. So how has the community supported you in this big mission?
They're seeing it, they're seeing it now. It's all in my inbox. Recently, a woman who wants to make guitars and she's 47 and her kids are partially grown. And she's like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I've always put it off. And I found you and I see your story of you and what you're doing. And now I'm really going to do it. I have the time. I'm not putting it off anymore. Yeah. Another woman's a banjo maker and she's done the same thing. And so it's already happening. Thankfully we have a lot of support. Like when Ann first started this GoFundMe, I was like, this is going to be something beautiful, amazing. I never even kind of thought about a GoFundMe for this, but let's go for it. She was passionate about it. Her passion seeped over to me. I'm passionate about it. I was like, let's do it. And the response has been incredible, like mouth open incredible for me. Just like, I cannot believe how people are being so moved by something we're also so moved about as well. So it's already touching people, and I think it's going to continue for a very long time.
For you, Anne, do you see the kind of the impact the story has? It's not just about it's really the story, I think. And that's how I found you guys anyway, in the GoFundMe Heroes
Yeah.
Mm.
page.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's really amazing how,
Yeah.
women uplift each other and women make history together. I mean, how that is just amazing to see. And for you, what has it been like for you to,
I just it's been mind blowing. It really really has. But I must say, I just believe in Amanda, and I believe in this story, and I really believe in the power of these seemingly small acts of community and cooperation and upliftment. When people come together in small ways, it has big reverberations. It
yeah,
just does. And I think we're living in a time where there's this illusion of feeling very fragmented and very alone, and I think
yeah,
the pandemic had a lot to do with that. It's been difficult for many many people, and I think it drives home the importance even more in collaboration, in reaching out within community in your small way. Oh, you find somebody that makes great bread that lives down the street. Well, buy your bread from them and you don't have to go to
yeah,
the store or whatever. It's like on these small levels, doing and supporting in whatever small ways you can has a huge impact. And I think the success of our GoFundMe is a reflection of that. I think people want to get behind this story because it is so uplifting and important,
hmm,
and it's not about us. It's kind of we're sort of it's about what we represent, which is hope. I
hmm,
ultimately for younger people and people coming up and a more expanded vision of diversity and inclusion in a
yeah.
field that hasn't historically been that way.
Yeah, I think it's hope, it's love, because clearly both of you are so passionate with what you do, and it's just pride. When you're proud of what you do, and you're proud of the collaborations and connections you make, really the stories, like you said, they're reverberating. For us at Just Wish Foundation, we're just so happy that we can take part in this special bond that you guys have. We wanna highlight you guys, and we wanna honor you guys, and we want to help in our own little way with a donation. But our founder, Mr. Jack Wu, is truly inspired by women who push each other up. I'm inspired by that as well, and we just wish you the best, and keep us posted, please, when the violin comes. When are we
Yes.
expecting that?
Amen. It is coming. It's coming. The violins. I'm actually have 3 on my bench for Anne to choose from, but they are really coming along very intentionally, and that's what's very important to me. Very intentionally, a lot of love.
For sure.
And I cannot wait, literally. I can't wait either to hand it off to Anne and have Anne bask in the presence of the instrument and then play it. I'm going to be crying like I was the first time in.
For sure. I
can't
I
wait.
hope I get to hear you, see you perform one day, Anne, and meet you as well, Amanda. But thank you so much, ladies. You're truly inspirational, and we salute you. And we hope we get to meet one of these days. And just
Yes.
girl
Thank you
power.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for
very
your
much.
energy.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Have a good day, ladies. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.